All right, testing one, two. All right, testing one, two. All right, here we go. Welcome everyone to the Metro League first round draft analysis. Thank you to Dustin, Jacob, and Kansas City Aaron for submitting draft grades. What we're going to do is we're going to run through the first round draft. We'll share the grades and any comments, also bring up their OOTP page. So, starting with the first pick in the draft, we had St. Louis selecting John Martinez. So this was the obvious number one pick. If we look at the grades, it was let me zoom out a little more so we could see Aaron's. There we go. It was unanimous A pluses across the board, which I believe is the only player to do that. So good job, Zach. If we look at the player, obviously 80 range as a shortstop is amazing. 80 stealing and has some power from both sides. This will be a perennial MVP candidate at only 22 years old. In terms of some of the comments, let me pull those up. Hold on one second. So one of the comments was, duh. Another comment was no brainer, easily the top choice. And yeah, those were the three comments we got on this pick. All right, moving on to the second pick in the draft. We had the Minnesota Twins selecting Jorge Gonzalez. This was a controversial pick. As you can see, even got a C from Jacob, two A's and a B from myself, averaging out to a B plus, which is the worst rated pick of the top five picks. Um, if we go over to looking at the profile, I mean, it's a solid three pitch pitcher, 24. The high contract demand probably is what did it. We'll have some split issues, it seems like, versus lefties, and was clearly not the best pitcher available. But hey, it is an 80-80. It is 24 years old, ground baller, righty who could hold runners. In terms of some of the comments, we got value pick because of age and demand, but not the best young pitcher available. Fully devved, great bars and personality, cheap, and then no reason to go pitcher, and he's not even the best pitcher available. So it was an okay pick, but missed opportunity. All right, with the third pick, we had the Cleveland Indians selecting second baseman Dan Hengel. So we had an average of A minus. We had a B from myself and Aaron, an A from Dustin and Atlanta. So let's pull up Dan. So Dan's a second baseman, high gap, high BABIP, high void K. Unfortunately, a lot of the speed is wasted because there's no stealing availability and will be pretty costly for a 22-year-old, already has 2 years of service time. Some of the comments. No pop, no stealing, but will be elite second baseman on defense and hitting for high average. Love this profile, might even play shortstop. I don't think you could throw a 45 arm at shortstop. Would have taken him 4, but he's the best middle infielder to build around. So that is the third pick. With the fourth pick, the Nationals selected Clement Pizzole. Oh, it looks like my screen got a little messed up. Hold on one sec. Sorry about that. Clement Pizzole. So Clement got three A's and one B. Jacob, being the lone B, doesn't seem to like pitchers for an A minus average. Um, let's pull him up. I personally thought this was the best young pitcher available. So if we look at Clement, only 22 years of age, has six filthy pitches. Another righty, huge stamina, workhorse, holds runners, no major split issues. Oh God, there we go. In terms, sorry about the screen. I feel like it keeps going in and out. One sec. Okay. In terms of some of the comments, one was, why was Jorge Gonzalez taken over him? Six elite pitches, ground baller, young 80-80. Another comment, age, talent, personality, only negative is the price. And the last comment, still would have gone pitcher, still wouldn't have gone pitcher, but this is the best one to grab for the long term. All right, let's see who was next. So next we have the Arizona Diamondbacks selecting James Shoop. This is the highest rated grade of the top five outside of the number one with an A. We have three A pluses, and then Aaron had to ruin it with a B. Aaron did not submit comments, so I'm really curious to hear why this was not an A plus. But let's take a look. So here we go. James, 23 and a half years old, probably could play center field in this league. Stealing, if he could get a camp or two, a dev lab in, that would be great. And look at this filthy 80 BABIP and gap. This could be 100. We don't even know how high this is. With a good eye is a great combo to have, especially with a void K this high. In terms of the comments, should have been the second position player, take it after Martinez, stealing in defense, lab away from being the best player in the game. Another comment, superstar, young and cheap. And then last comment, should have went 1.2 easily. Very curious why Aaron didn't love this pick. All right. Number 6, we have the Chicago Cubs going pitcher, taking Ramon Hernandez. B plus for me, A from Dustin, B from Jacob, and a B from Aaron. Dustin being the lone A grader. So let's take a look at Ramon. So this is Ramon 7580, is a righty with some split issues, big split issues. Will struggle against lefties with that very weak slider. Hopefully he doesn't throw it too much. In terms of the comments, we had bad splits, but still a good young pitcher, young stud, can't go wrong, and fine pick. Next pick, picking seventh, was the California Angels, selecting Ramiro Pinon. Is there a tilde? I don't know. So bringing up the OTP. So Ramiro is another center fielder. Has the range. Look at these bars: 80 stealing aggressiveness, 80 ability, 80 base running. That's amazing. High void K, gap, and enough power in eye, especially in this file where there's not much power in eye. This should play well. Splits don't look too bad. In terms of the comments, we got true center fielder is rare, 80 stealing and gap, high avoids Ks and steals, damn. Potential star center fielder, only downside is age. Is he old? Oh, he's 27. I wouldn't say that's a downside. Um, and then the other comment is should have went 1.3. All right, next is a very controversial pick in my opinion. So we have Milwaukee, who's no longer here. Tyler, welcome to take over. But we had Milwaukee taking Mike Thomas. Aaron and I were in the C range, Jacob and Dustin in the B range, averages out to a B minus, which is the lowest grade so far. Let's take a look at why this pick is controversial, in my opinion. It's really the avoid K. The power in I is filthy, and we don't know. This could be over 80. Has 75 stealing, even with 35 steal speed, should still be able to get 20 to 30 bags. Fringe outfielder, 6'6", can play first base easily as well. Um, but yeah, the high avoid Ks is interesting, especially with a good eye. He'll be working a lot of late counts, but he won't be able to deliver because he's going to strike out 250 plus times. But looking at this, that might not matter, right? I said maybe the most interesting profile, potential 40-40 or 40-30 guy with 100 plus walks, 250 Ks, wants a lot of money at 21, and has a shit personality. Next comment, eye power combo is insane. Poor fielder. OPS is going to be bonkers. And then last comment is number one rated bat. Power and eye may be over 80, positionally limited. All right, next up we have the Colorado Rockies selecting number 9. They went with the second baseman of the draft. And if you notice, this draft file is actually loaded with second baseman for some reason. So they took Alex Rojas, 3 A grades, and Dustin being the lone holdout with B plus. Let's pull up Rojas. So here we have Rojas, can play second base easy. No speed, is a righty, no split issues with 60 power and 65 avoid K. I really love this profile. This is a profile I usually go for. Just that all-around player, nothing below 50. These bats are invaluable and only 24. In terms of comments, all-arounder, should hit 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, bat 320, play solid defense. Other comment, captain, all-around good player and young. Not sure I'd take a first base this early. And then the last comment, solid value here, not much better you can ask for. Curious why Dustin went B plus. Seems like he doesn't like second baseman, but otherwise solid pick for Colorado. All right, now we have one of the 2 worst picks in the draft based on the graders. So that would be the Baltimore Orioles selecting Trevor Goodwin, or Gooddown, sorry. So Trevor is one of 2 players with a C grade. As you can see, C, B, D plus, and C. Dustin being a B, which is interesting. Let's pull him up. So here we have the center fielder, Trevor Gooddown. A lot of wasted speed as he can't steal to save his life. Has no arm whatsoever, no power. Decent enough eye with the avoid Ks and should get on base a lot for sure. In terms of the comments, we have no stealing, no pop, just a slap hitting center fielder who can't throw the ball. Looks like Johnny Damon without the stealing. Nice hitter, has range, but may be limited in center fielder with the noodle arm. And then the last comment is don't like this pick at all. Next up, we have the San Francisco Giants selecting Ron Hartkoft. Don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry, one second. Okay, so we have San Francisco selecting the center fielder Ron. This one got A grades from everyone except me, but it still averaged out to an A minus, and I gave it a B plus. So if we look at Ron, here we have him, center fielder, highest range we've seen so far at 75. Another center fielder with wasted speed as he can't steal a bag. But I do like this pick a lot better than the previous one Baltimore made. In terms of the comments, should have been taken instead of get down if going for a center fielder. Enough pop and eye to be dangerous on both sides. Love this guy. Probably wins Gold Glove in center fielder. If you're going to play a position or center fielder, then you choose this guy, not get down. So a lot of similar thinking there. All right, next up, we have the Chicago White Sox selecting second baseman Paul Atkinson, which is one of the 5C grades. There are 2Cs and 3C pluses. C's across the board, except for Dustin. Dustin was the easiest grader of all these picks, by the way, you'll notice. Um, so let's take a look at Paul. So Paul is not a second baseman. Let's just start there. He has an 80 BABIP, which we don't know, could be higher, because 80 is the highest we show in this league. Has no speed, no power, and will be playing first base or DH. Is 23 and asking for 29 million. In terms of the comments, we got first baseman with no power or ceiling will hit a crazy high average, but you want some power with a high pick like this and a file without not much power if you're going for a first baseman. Then we have Dustin, who gave it a B, one of my favorite hitters, but he's a first baseman with low power. And then lastly, we have a comment from Jacob, great bat, probably a DH. Not the best pick, I think, for the 12th overall. Next, we have our commish, Dustin. Shocker, going pitcher, if you know anything about Dustin's teams. He select Ricky Robertson. We love the alliteration. Let's bring up Ricky. So Ricky had A's across the board, including one A plus from Jacob. So here's Ricky, 28. So is one of the older players drafted so far. I think this is the oldest player drafted in the top 13. Is a lefty without split issues with, what is that, 6 elite pitches, including a splitter and a knuckle curve and curve, which are filthy against righties. 80 holds runners. This should be a Cy Young contender for the next probably 2 to 3 years, as he is drafted right in his peak. And Dustin is not starting with a rebuild, that's for sure. In terms of the comments, top pitcher, just not as young as the earlier ones, should still get 5 to 6 good seasons. Age and money are the only downsides here, and best starting pitcher in the game. All right, next we have another A pick. So we have A minus. Aaron gave this one an A plus, I think only a second, and only A plus of the file. This is Brent Hernandez from the Texas Rangers. So here is Brent. Great personality. Should be able to hold it at third, but I like him better as a second baseman. Is a righty, minor splits, but still good power and eye on both sides and avoid K. In terms of the comments, damn, a lot of elite second basemen in this league. Love these all-around types. Probably a shortstop in this league when makes it a good pick, or a great second baseman. I don't think you play this at short, personally. And then great young middle infielder. All right, we are almost halfway. We have the San Diego Padres next. They selected another second baseman, Francisco Rodriguez, with a B plus average. This one was all over the board. I gave it an A, Dustin C plus, Jacob B plus, and Aaron a B. Pulling him up on OOTP. Let's take a look at Francisco. Which one is it? There's 2. Here we go. Switch hitter. Filthy power and eye. Will strike out a bit, but not too much. It is not a second baseman, though, right? That is a first baseman for sure. Or a left fielder. 55 range, that could play left field and put him in a lab. So this is an outfielder. 26 million, only 20 years old, no service time. In terms of comments, elite switch hitter, power hitting switch hitter, and a file without much power and eye. He's a good first baseman, maybe a round too early, elite IA power combo. But if he could play left field, I don't think it is a round too early. And Jacob with convert to a corner outfielder, but elite bat for sure. All right, next we have a pitcher. The Pittsburgh Pirates selecting Randy Schwartz. So Randy got some good grades. Overall A minus. Had some B's from Dustin and Jacob and A's from me and Aaron. So here's Randy. Is a lefty. 3 elite pitches and a weak changeup. Has some big splits versus righties. Great personality. In terms of comments, some split issues, but should still be elite. Great young lefty bat with all the tools. Too splitty for me, but gonna get tossed around by right-handed bats. All right, next up, Houston selecting pitcher again, Pat Widmeyer, one of the worst rated picks of the draft. We have a C plus average, a C, B, D, and B. Here we go with Pat. Pat is 24 years old, is a righty, filthy splitter cutter, and a decent changeup. Some split issues, and is the lowest home run allowed pitcher we have seen selected so far, and can't hold a runner to save his life. Good personality, only 24, turning 25 shortly. Controversial pick. My comment, want more than 50 home run allowed. Love the splitter and should play well given there isn't too much power around. Reverse splits, change might be good enough. Nice young pitcher. And then the last comment from Jacob, a lot of pitchers available are way better. Completely agree with that. All right, next up, we're going to speed it up a little. But Kansas City selecting Aaron, oh God, how do you, Schneeweiss, Aaron Schneeweiss with a B minus grade. We have 2 C's from Aaron and myself, and Dustin and Jacob giving it a B. Let's see what we got for Aaron. So Aaron, this is probably not a center fielder with only 60 range. Will need some help with stealing. Is a lefty, but the splits don't look bad. Solid all around player, which is what my comment was. Other comments, probably a left fielder, so drops him a notch. Might lead the league in doubles. And the last comment from Jacob, worse bat than some guys available, but only 19, which is really cool. So only 19 years old. I think this is the youngest player drafted so far. Next, we have me in Toronto drafting Mario Rodriguez. We have 2 A's and 2 B's with Mario. Hold All right, so let's take a look at Mario. 21 years old, only 21. Has a lot of velocity potential left in him, and not asking for too much money. So this is more of a high potential pick, but can play in Metro right from the jump. Young pitcher in terms of comments, young pitcher, and curious what happens when he grows into the miles per hour, but hates slider guys because of their split issues to lefties, which this guy certainly has. Look at the difference there. Still room to grow, but he's close, and really good young pitcher to build around. All right, next pick, almost A's across the board. Boston selecting Alberto Escamilla. A's from me, Dustin, and Jacob, and a B from Aaron. So I think this is the first true third baseman selected within the draft. And is the best or top 2, I think. Looking at the comments, we got knocked because of the age. How old is he? 28. Oh, he'll be 29 when the season starts, so a little bit older. Would have liked 55 or 60 avoid K to be an MVP candidate, but who knows how high the BABIP is, and he could steal bases. Even though he doesn't have much speed, could probably steal 15 or 20 bags a year. Other comments we have best third baseman in the league question mark, age and money only downsides, and then last comment from Jacob, probably the best pick available. All right, next we have the Los Angeles Dodgers going pitcher with Jim Bell. This is the worst rated pick of the draft. The only D, there's one D plus, which we'll get to later, but the only D of the draft. We have two Fs from myself and Jacob. Aaron being nice with a B, I don't understand that, and Dustin with a D. So let's take a look at Jim Bell. I love building a bullpen and I think it's important, but taking the side armor, who's going to give up a lot of home runs and strike a lot of people out and give up a lot of walks in the first round, even though he's 23 with a low demand, just really makes no sense here. There are better relief pitchers available, and it's too early. Um, but in terms of comments, way too early, not the best relief pitcher. Release picture in the first, not ideal. This guy has new vibes all over it. And then the last comment is noob filtered. LA will learn. It's all good. All right, next up, Tampa Bay. Our friend Tyler. Albert Gonzalez with a C plus. We have a C minus from me, a B from Dustin, a D from Jacob, and an A from Aaron. This is a very controversial pick all over. So let's take a look at Albert. So here is Albert, 24 years old, low demand, fastball, curveball, sinker, can't hold runners, good personality, some split issues, only 50 home run allowed against lefties, and only 50 stuff. So let's take a look at the comment section. We have too early to select someone who will give up home runs. Chose for demand and age, I assume. Might get beat up by lefties. Young guy with good personality. And then the last comment from Jacob. I don't get this pick. I'm kind of with you. I thought this was way too early, and this guy's going to give up a lot of home runs to lefties. All right. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Reds selecting Hoffman Cole, which is another one of the lower draft picks, draft ratings. We have a C. I have a D minus from me, a C from Dustin, a D from Jacob, and an A from Aaron. Aaron, what are you thinking? All right, here we go. Hoffman Cole. We got a first baseman, righty, who hits lefties better, is a solid righty bat though, and could hit both sides. Line drive hitter, 28 already. In terms of the comments, almost an F, but power isn't easy to find in this league. The splits are rough, as most pitchers are righties in this league. He's a first baseman, not an outfielder. Next comment, first base or DH, can't run, too early for this guy. And then last comment, 28-year-old DH in the first round. I'm with you. All right, I'm up next. We have Jim Kitts. Here's Jim. B plus average. I gave it an A minus, of course. Then we have a B, B plus, and a B. Looking at Jim, high home run allowed. Enough stuff, I think, in control that he should be a great pitcher. Two good pitches with the curveball sinker, and the sinkers will be the primary pitch as a ground baller, and enough hold runners that I was happy with for a righty. Only 25 with a $2.8 million ask. Solid pick. I wasn't too thrilled either. Huge home run allowed with stuff in control to be an all-star. Enough. Low demand and only 25. Young ground baller with amazing home run allowed. Sliders a bit weak. And then solid pickup is the next comment. All right. Next, we have the Montreal Expos getting a B minus for selecting Jose Banuelos. This is an interesting pick. I gave it a C. We have a B, a C from Jacob, and a B from Aaron. Here's Jose. Should be a center fielder in this league with the 60 rating and 65 range. Another wasted speed. Who knows how high this avoid K is, but not much of an eye to work long counts. So a slap hitter, righty. And the fact that his 80 BABIP from both sides and gap means he's probably over 80. So that's interesting. Would be an F, I said, if he couldn't play center fielder, but in this league, this is a solid pick. Young center fielder, won't walk or run, but should hit for average and give you great defense for 10 years. Not a good pick, but not egregious either. Would have expected better from Ryan, who's the Expos GM. All right, few picks to go. And then back to work for me. So next we have Kevin Williams with the Detroit Tigers. Kevin is also an outfielder. Pulling him up now. This is a true center fielder. This was a divisive pick. I gave it a C. We have an A from Dustin, a B from Jacob, and an A from Aaron. 80 stealing, 70 range, terrible personality, will be disruptive to your team, which for those who are new, that's not a good thing. Will hurt team morale if you're not winning. It could affect other players. And 25 avoid Ks, but is a lefty with filthy power and a decent eye. However, when you have a good eye and low avoid K, it leads to a lot of strikeouts because you get into deep counts. And once there's 2 strikes, which is what avoid K is looking at, he's going to strike out a lot. Um, so comments. True center fielder, 80 speed, can do everything except make contact. Will he bat over 220, and does that even matter? I love everything about this guy except for the Ks. He'll strike out 250 times. And then last comment, this is fascinating because he might have a 40% K rate, but he's a legit center fielder and the rest of the tools are great. All right, next we have another second baseman. Second basemans are deep. We have Jose Lopez going to the Atlanta Braves. This was a B plus selection. C plus for me, a B plus, and an A. So here's Jose Lopez. Shit personality as well, but 80-80, only 21 years old. No split issues as a righty, which is great to see. And this is just a solid MVP type of bat. In terms of comments, the reason I was a C plus, he's not a second baseman or a third baseman yet. You don't want to put 35 arm, and I don't like 55 range. Shit personality and can't steal yet, but has one of the best offensive tools. Love the hitting, might be a first baseman, kind of a tweener here from Dustin. And then great young bat and just needs a touch of defensive help. Tools are there to make it happen. For sure. This is a dev lab project. You get one good defensive and stealing, maybe 2 stealing labs, and you are golden with an MVP candidate. All right. Next up, we have Vancouver. 5 picks to go. The Vancouver Canadiens going pitcher, getting a B minus grade, 3 Bs and a C plus for Israel Quinones. So here we go. Is Israel righty? Can't really hold runners. Has 3 pitches, slider curve change, 75 overall, 29 and a half years old. Minor split issues, but nothing out of the normal. In terms of comments, almost 30. Is a good, not great pitcher. May have issues with lefties and controlling the running game. Good starting pitcher, a bit older and not cheap. Third pitch isn't great. And then bland pick, nothing wrong with it, but nothing great either. All right, Miami going with Ricky Mercado, liked by everyone except Dustin for a B plus average. Let's take a look at Ricky. Ricky, 60 range, so probably not a shortstop, probably a second baseman, maybe a fringe shortstop if needed. Is a righty, great power and eye on both sides, another all-around type player, and only asking for 3.4 million. In terms of comments, another second baseman with pop, young and cheap, poor personality, but not bad for an auto pick. Maybe a shortstop, but probably a second baseman. And then last comment from Jacob, hilarious. This is an auto pick because it was a good one. All right, the Philadelphia Phillies going with Jesus Castillo. Let's pull up Jesus. Jesus got a B plus overall, A's and B's across the board, except for Jacob with a C. So let's see what his comment was. First, let's pull him up. This is a true third baseman, 28, righty, amazing power and bat on both sides, fly ball hitter. This is a great player in my opinion. I gave it an A. Only docked points for age, second best third baseman in the league. Sick eye power combo, won't strike out too much. Then we got legit third baseman with eye power combo. And then lastly, only 2+ tools. Um, Not a positional priority. 28, don't get it, don't hate it, just meh. All right, 2 picks to go. We got the New York Mets with the second worst pick in the draft. Dustin gave it an A though. Everyone else was D's and F's. I gave it a D minus. I wasn't sure what to even say about this pick. But let's pull it up. So Mike Wilcox is the knuckleballer, 75 knuckleballer, only 40 stamina though, with terrible splits. Looks like lefties are gonna feast off this and draw walks and hit home runs. I didn't go F because I've never been in a league with an elite knuckleball. The bars do not look good though, so I don't know how this is gonna play. Dustin said knuckleballer, love it at this spot. And Jacob says, I don't care if he has a knuckleball. This is a terrible pick. I'm pretty much with you there. And the last pick in the draft is the first A minus or better pick since the 20th pick, which goes to the Las Vegas Athletics pitcher Aaron Marone. A's from Dustin and Aaron, B's from Jacob and myself. And let's pull him up. So here's Aaron, 29, turning 30 shortly. 4 elite pitches with a curveball that's okay, can hold runners, and a great personality. In terms of comments, only docked for age, great elite ground ball workhorse who can control the running game from the right side. Really nice starting pitcher at the spot with multiple pitches, ground baller, and very good pitcher, but on the older end. All right. Well, that concludes the first round overview. I will share out this spreadsheet so y'all can take a look for yourself. But in terms of best grades to worst grades, let's do a little filter. So in terms of oh, it doesn't go in order. That's annoying. But in terms of best grade, we have A plus, John Martinez. We have 2 A's, the Arizona Diamondbacks with James Shoop, and the Seattle Mariners with Ricky Robertson. And then in terms of worst picks, we have Chicago White Sox with Paul Atkinson, Houston Astros with Pat Widmeyer, Tampa Bay with Albert Gonzalez, Los Angeles with Jim Bell, and the New York Mets with Mike Wilcox. Hope y'all enjoyed this. I'll share this out, and I gotta